My husband stole our daughter's $75,000 college fund for his mistress and thought we'd never find out. But my 12-year-old had other plans. The day it all came crashing down started like any other Tuesday. The coffee pot was dripping in the kitchen. The sun was just coming through the blinds, but in my gut, something already felt wrong, like the air was heavier than it should be. I just didn't know yet that by the end of that morning, my marriage would be over, our savings gone, and the man I thought I knew better than anyone would be a stranger. Before I tell you how my little girl outsmarted 2 grown adults and flipped the tables on them, I want to know, if you were in my shoes, would you press charges? Or would you try to keep it quiet for the sake of the family? Drop your answer in the comments and vote in the pinned poll. A. Press charges. B. Civil only. C. Keep it quiet. I read every single one, and trust me, I'm curious how people see this. And hey, if you love real-life revenge stories where the bad guys actually get what's coming to them, hit that subscribe button right now so you don't miss what happens next. Because this is one story you'll be telling your friends after you hear it. Stick around. At the 14-minute mark, you'll hear the one sentence that ended his bluff. Let me take you back to the morning everything changed. I've lived in the same quiet suburb of Austin, Texas for most of my adult life. Our neighborhood's the kind where folks wave when they pass by, and the loudest thing you hear at night is the crickets. I teach 3rd grade at the local elementary school. Not exactly the kind of job that makes you rich, but I've always loved it. Mark and I met when I was 23. He was charming, confident, the kind of man who could make you feel like you were the only person in the room. He worked in sales for a big furniture company, and he had this way of talking about the future that made you believe it was all possible. We got married 2 years later, bought a modest 3-bedroom, and built what I thought was a good life together. Then there was Emma, my miracle baby. She came along after 3 years of trying and a whole lot of tears. From the day she was born, she's been curious about everything. By 12, she could put together a robotics kit faster than I could make dinner. She's my pride and joy, my reason for everything. For years we had this rhythm. Birthdays in the backyard, Sunday morning pancakes, Christmas mornings in matching pajamas. I thought those little traditions were our anchor, the thing that kept us steady. But somewhere in the last 2 years, the edges started to fray. Mark began traveling more for work, or so he said. Just a couple nights in Dallas, or the Houston account needs me in person. It sounded reasonable at first, but the trips got longer, the calls got shorter. Then came the late-night texts. His phone would light up at midnight, and he'd roll over, shielding the screen from me. If I asked, he'd say it was a client in another time zone. But the way his voice tightened when he answered, it didn't feel like business. I'll never forget the first time my stomach really dropped. He came home late from a meeting wearing that same shirt he'd left in, but it smelled faintly of perfume. Not mine. I remember forcing a smile, telling myself I was imagining things. We'd been together 15 years. Surely I knew my own husband. Looking back now, I can see how those little moments were warning signs. At the time, I just told myself marriage had ups and downs, that maybe we'd reconnect when life slowed down. I didn't know that life was about to slam on the brakes in the most brutal way possible. It was a Thursday. I remember because I had playground duty that afternoon and was already dreading standing out in the Texas heat. I woke up to an unusual quiet. No sound of Mark in the shower, no smell of coffee brewing, which was strange because he always made it before I was even out of bed. I rolled over, and his side of the bed was cold. I padded into the closet and stopped dead in the doorway. Half of it was empty. His suits, his shoes, the overnight bag he usually took on work trips, gone. The space looked wrong, like a puzzle with missing pieces. For a second, I thought maybe he'd taken things to the dry cleaner. Then I saw the envelope sitting on the shelf. My name was written across it in his handwriting. My hands shook as I opened it. Inside was a single sheet of paper. "It's over. Don't try to find me." That was it. No explanation, no apology. My ears started ringing. I stumbled back into the bedroom, my heart pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. I grabbed my phone and opened our joint bank account app. My stomach dropped. Balance 0.0. I refreshed the page, thinking maybe it was a glitch. Still 0. Panic kicked in. I switched to the savings account, the one we'd built for Emma's college since she was a baby. $75,000, not from one windfall, but 14 years of birthday checks, summer jobs, and careful budgeting. Gone. Every cent. I called the bank right then. My voice was shaking so badly the woman on the other end had to ask me to repeat the account number twice. She pulled up the transactions and said, as calmly as if she were reading the weather, "Mum, it shows here the funds were transferred to an account under Mark's name 3 days ago." 3 days ago. He'd planned this. I could barely get the words out. "That's our daughter's college fund. He took it." There was a pause. "I'm sorry, Mum. There's nothing we can do without his authorization." I hung up and sat on the edge of the bed, the room spinning around me. I thought about Emma, about how excited she'd been to talk about college, about how she'd been researching robotics programs at MIT and Stanford. That future, the one I'd promised her we'd protect, felt like it had just been ripped away. The pain in my chest shifted into something else, hotter, sharper, anger. This wasn't just betrayal, this was theft from his own child, and I knew right then I wasn't going to let him get away with it. I must have been sitting there for 20 minutes staring at the empty space in the closet when I heard soft footsteps in the hallway. "Mom?" I turned, quickly wiping my face. Emma stood in the doorway, her hair a little messy from sleep, wearing the oversized hoodie she loved. Her eyes went straight to mine. I tried to force a smile, but my lips trembled. "Hey, honey, you should go get breakfast. I'll be down in a minute." She didn't move. "I know, Mom." I blinked. "Know what?" She stepped into the room, calm in a way that didn't match her age. "About Dad, about the money, and I've been working on it." I laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was so absurd. "Working on it? Emma, you're 12. She crossed her arms, almost amused. 12 and a half. And you'd be surprised what I can do with a laptop and a little free time. For a second, I just stared at her, unsure whether to scold her or be terrified. Side note for viewers, what would you do if your own child uncovered something like this? Would you be proud? Scared? Both? Let me know in the comments. For a second, I thought I'd misheard. Then Emma opened her laptop and my stomach dropped. She sat down on the bed and lowered her voice. "I've known for a while something was going on. I saw texts on Dad's phone a few weeks ago from someone named Rebecca." The name hit like a dart. "Who's Rebecca?" "She works at a mortgage company, loan officer, lives 2 towns over. And Mom, she's not just his girlfriend." I swallowed. "What do you mean?" "She's helping him. They were talking about buying a house together and they used my social security number to apply for the mortgage." I felt my skin go cold. "What? Emma, that's identity theft." She nodded like she'd been waiting for me to catch up. "Yep, and that's why I made a copy of everything." I stared at my 12-year-old, this kid who still left socks all over her room, and tried to process that she was talking about credit scores and fraud like it was no big deal. Emma leaned in, voice almost a whisper. "The night before he left, his phone synced to our shared iPad on the kitchen counter. The messages and attachments downloaded automatically, and there they were, the mortgage documents. They used my SSN and a fake date of birth. Rebecca must have pulled some strings at her company. It was surreal. Half of me was horrified she'd done it. The other half was in awe. She opened her laptop and spun it toward me. Then she whispered, "What if they say I made it up?" I took her hand. "Then we show them everything together." I ran my fingers through my hair. "Emma, do you realize how serious this is?" She looked me dead in the eye. "That's why we're going to shut them down." And just like that, she laid out her plan. First, we'd freeze my credit and hers. No more loans, no more accounts. Freezing is basically slamming a lock on your credit file so no one can open new accounts in your name. Then we'd file fraud reports with the FTC and our local police department. If this is helping you, tap like so more folks who need it can find it. She even had the links bookmarked. Last step? An anonymous email to Rebecca's company attaching proof of the mortgage fraud and her role in it. Emma grinned. Corporate HR loves a scandal. I couldn't help it. I smiled back, despite everything. "You're your mother's daughter," she shrugged. "I'm just getting started." If this bounced back, we had nothing. As I hit send on that anonymous email, a thought flickered through my mind. One beat, two. Then, ding. HR replied. We were about to watch their entire plan collapse. And God, it felt good. The unknown number started flashing an hour later, then stopped. The email to Rebecca's company had barely left our outbox when my phone lit up with an unknown number. For a beat, I just watched it flash across the screen, my pulse ticking in my neck. Emma looked at me, steady as stone, and mouthed, "Answer it." I put it on speaker and set the phone between us. There was a rush of breath. Then his voice, frantic, jagged around the edges. "Why is the mortgage denied? What did you do?" The sound of him used to make me feel safe. In that moment, it sounded like a stranger breaking into my house. I took a breath. "Hi, Mark." "You think this is funny?" he snapped. "They just called. The loan's been flagged. My accounts. Something's wrong with my accounts. Did you mess with my credit? Did you..." Emma leaned toward the phone, calm as a surgeon. "Because you tried to steal from me. And I caught you." Silence. A beat. Then a laugh that wasn't really a laugh. "Emma, put your mother on the phone." "I'm right here," I said, "and you're on speaker." He lowered his voice like he was about to sell me a couch. "Okay, listen. There's been a misunderstanding. The market's hot. This is a once-in-a-lifetime property. I moved money around, that's all. I was going to put it back." "You drained a 12-year-old's college fund," I said, "and you used her social security number to apply for a mortgage with your girlfriend." "Watch your words," he hissed. "That's defamatory." Emma actually snorted. "No, Dad, it's documented." He ignored her. "You're overreacting. We can handle this privately. Don't call anyone. Don't post anything. Think about our family." "Our family?" I felt my voice crack and then harden. "You left a note in an empty closet." On the other end, paper shuffled, like he was searching for a script that might save him. "I can fix it. I'll move the money back next week. Rebecca's already..." "Rebecca," I repeated, letting the name sit in the air like smoke. "Loan officer, right? Funny thing about working in finance. Companies tend to care when you commit fraud on the side." He sucked in a breath. "What did you do?" Emma answered. "We froze my credit and Mum's. We filed fraud reports. And, Rebecca's employer will be reviewing the email we sent with the mortgage documents, the ones with my SSN and internal document trails and timestamps that point back to her workstation." I watched the words hit him. It was almost audible. A click, a hitch, a scramble. "You have no idea what you've started," he said. "You could destroy my career." "You did that," I said, "when you stole from your child." he changed tactics. "You're scaring Emma. You always make everything dramatic. This is why I had to get out." "You suffocate," Emma cut in, voice steady, almost bored. "You're not going to gaslight us out of this." On his end, a woman whispered something muffled. My stomach turned. I knew it was her. Mark covered the receiver poorly. "Not now," he muttered. Then louder to us, "Look, give me 24 hours. I'll wire the money. We'll call the bank together and explain it was a mix-up." I let the quiet stretch. Outside, a lawnmower started down the block, the most ordinary sound in the world. It made the moment feel even more unreal. "No," I said finally. "We're not negotiating. We've frozen everything, and the police have your name." "Police?" he echoed, trying to laugh. "Oh, come on. You didn't—" "We did," I said. "There's a case number. There's an FTC report. There's a fraud alert on Emma's identity. Every lender in this state is going to see a red banner if you try anything else." He tried a softer tone. "Sweetheart." "Don't," I said. "You don't get that word anymore." Another whisper on his end, sharper this time. He lost the calm salesman voice. "You're going to ruin me. Is that what you want? For your daughter's father to lose everything?" Emma answered before I could. "I want my future back." He exhaled hard, and for the first time, I heard the fear under the bluster. "What do you want me to do?" The question hung there, absurd and yet exactly what I'd been waiting for. "Tell the truth," I said. "Email me a signed admission that you moved the funds and that you used Emma's identity. Return every dollar today, send the lender a withdrawal of application, and call Rebecca's HR to schedule a meeting. We'll be forwarding everything to them anyway." "You're out of your mind," he said, but the fight was slipping like he was talking through sinking sand. "You won't get away with this." Emma's tone was almost kind. "Dad, you already didn't." There was a long, empty pause. Somewhere far away on his end, a siren wailed. He cleared his throat. I'll call you back." "You won't be calling this number again," I said. "If you need to communicate, use email. We're documenting everything." He tried one last angle. "For Emma, can we—" "For Emma," I said, "we're done." A text flashed seconds later. "We can fix this! Don't ruin my life!" I saved it to the evidence folder and turned the phone face down. I pressed the red circle. A text came in seconds later. "We can fix this! Don't ruin my life!" I saved it to the evidence folder and turned the phone face down. Emma's hand found mine. "We're okay," she said. "We're better than okay." I believed her. The first domino fell the very next morning. An HR director from Rebecca's mortgage company replied to the anonymous tip from a concerned parent and asked for a call. I was running on 3 hours of sleep, but my voice was steady as I walked her through the paper trail, the emails, the loan file, the screenshots, the application that used my 12-year-old's social security number. She listened, asked careful questions, and then went quiet. "Thank you for bringing this to us," she said. "We take this extremely seriously." By lunch, Rebecca was placed on administrative leave. By Friday, the company said they ended her employment and referred the matter for review. The mortgage application didn't survive the day either. The lender flagged it as suspected identity theft, notified their legal department, and filed their own report. The house Mark thought would be his clean slate. Someone else's open house sign went up that weekend. I drove past once with the windows down and let the breeze hit my face like a benediction. Mark's fallout came in waves. Our bank froze the suspicious transfers pending review. Fraud alerts trailed him from lender to lender like storm sirens. The detective assigned to our case walked me through each step, from the victim affidavit to the chain of evidence, and a bank fraud specialist showed us how to place bureau locks and monitor alerts. "You did the right thing," she told me. "Protecting Emma comes first." She didn't make promises, but she didn't sugarcoat it either. Using a minor's identity to secure credit is a serious crime, and this wasn't going away just because he wanted it to. Emma absorbed it all like a scientist studying a storm she'd already mapped. She didn't gloat. She didn't dance on the ashes. She finished her homework, fed the dog, tinkered with her robot, and then opened a new folder on the family computer labelled Family Safety. Inside, she built a checklist: freeze your credit, set fraud alerts, lock your file with all 3 bureaus, document every call, never send sensitive info by email, turn on 2-factor, use a password manager, verify every urgent text or call, and tell one safe adult, no matter how ashamed you feel. She printed 3 copies, one for me, one for Grandma, and one for the fridge with a magnet shaped like a tiny blue house. I filed for divorce. There was no big movie scene with gasps from the gallery, just a tired woman signing papers at a wooden desk with a box of tissues nearby. I didn't do it to punish him. I did it because staying would have taught Emma the wrong lesson about what love has to swallow. Boundaries can be love too. Our community showed up in 100 ordinary ways. My principal rearranged my schedule so I could take calls during planning period. Neighbours dropped off casseroles like it was flu season. A friend from church connected me with a legal aid clinic that reviewed the documentation and laid out the road ahead. Slow, messy, and sometimes infuriating, but navigable. "You've already done the hard part," the attorney said. "You told the truth, and you documented everything. As for Rebecca, I don't know where she is now, and I don't need to. I'm not interested in living in the wreckage of someone else's choices. I care about the roof over my kid's head, the number in her college fund, and the look on her face when she solves a problem nobody else can crack." We rebuilt that fund one line item at a time: restitution from the investigation, a small grant from a local foundation that helps identity theft victims, and me picking up a summer tutoring gig I ended up loving more than I expected. A few weeks later, I found Emma at the kitchen table with her laptop open and her headphones around her neck, answering posts in a teen forum about online safety. She wasn't bragging, she was teaching. "I can't tell my parents," one kid wrote. Emma typed back, "Start by telling one safe adult. If you don't have one at home, find a counsellor at school. You don't have to fight alone." I stood in the doorway and realised we hadn't just survived. We'd pivoted. We took what tried to break us and turned it into a blueprint. Do I wish any of this had happened? No. 1,000 times no. But I am grateful, not in the pretty performative way people use when they want to sound wise. I'm grateful the truth showed up and refused to be ignored. I'm grateful the quietest person in the house was the bravest. I'm grateful that when we pushed the right buttons and kept records, the system did what it was supposed to do. And I'm grateful for the ordinary, holy things that never left. Morning light through the blinds, the clatter of plates in the sink, my daughter humming while she tightens a tiny screw on a tiny wheel. We reported through proper channels. Don't access accounts you don't own. If you're listening and you're inside a version of my story, if the person you trusted took something that wasn't theirs, hear me. You are not crazy, you are not helpless, and you are not alone. Call your bank, freeze your credit, write everything down, ask for help. It isn't petty to protect your future, it's brave. Never underestimate a kid who's been wronged, and never ever mess with a mother protecting her child. If you enjoyed watching justice being served, hit like so more people see this, and subscribe for next week's story, How My Neighbour Caught Her Husband with the Babysitter, and what she did next will blow your mind. Tell me in the comments what you would have done in my place, press charges or keep it quiet for the family. I'll feature the best comments in the next episode of Whispers of Revenge. And if you've got a story of your own and you're ready to whisper it out loud, my inbox is open. We're okay. Better than okay. We're building again, carefully, honestly, with every password long enough to count as a paragraph, and Emma's future. It isn't just back, it's brighter.